Hola a todos, muy buenas tardes. Sean muy bienvenidos al primer Market Entry Series Workshop de ProChile, Canadá, titulado Why Canada Should Be on Your Radar. Este taller es posible gracias al gran apoyo que hemos tenido de parte de la Cámara de Comercio Chileno-Canadiense y la Embajada de Canadá en Chile. Muchas gracias a ellos. Antes de empezar, algunos detalles técnicos. En la barra inferior de sus pantallas está el chat en el que pueden hacer sus preguntas, las que contestaremos luego de los paneles. Asimismo, les informo que este seminario cuenta con traducción inglés-español. Para acceder, solo tienen que pinchar el globo terráqueo que está en la parte inferior de la pantalla y elegir su idioma de preferencia. Y ahora, para dar inicio a este seminario y referirse al sector de la innovación chilena, quiero presentar al director general de ProChile, señor Jorge O'Ryan. El señor O'Ryan es abogado de la Universidad Católica de Chile, titulado de la Academia Diplomática Andrés Bello y fue embajador de Chile ante Alemania, además de otros importantes cargos de liderazgo. Señor director.
Muchas gracias, Fernando. Quiero saludar muy especialmente, bueno, a ti y al equipo nuestro en Toronto y en Montreal. Quiero saludar muy especialmente a Pablo Herrera, que es presidente de la Cámara de Comercio Chileno-Canadiense y Managing Partner de Deloitte. Al señor Marc Bonnell, director de la Cámara de Comercio también chileno-canadiense. A Mark Richardson, que es Trade Commissioner de la Embajada de Chile en Canadá. A Claudio Rojas, CEO de la Organización Nacional de Capitales Ángeles, y también a Javier Fernández, director de expansión de Cornershop, Elisa Fiuzza, Project Manager de Montreal International, a Graham Cook, asesor senior de Toronto Global. Yo creo que es importante mencionarlo, porque gracias a todos ustedes esto se puede organizar. Y por supuesto, también a nuestro Departamento de Innovación, Sofía del Santo. Tú me presentaste, Fernando, como un profesional que sí, me inicié en la carrera diplomática, pero más de 20 años en el sector privado y como gerente general de empresa, como director de empresa, presidente de empresa, y sin lugar a duda, cuando fui embajador en Alemania también, me nació mucho esto de la innovación, porque Alemania es uno de los países más innovadores del mundo, y yo soy un convencido, además después de haber vivido 10 años en Alemania, de que la productividad y sin lugar a duda la competitividad son fundamentales. Y la innovación nos da eso. Por eso, cuando llegué a ProChile hace 2 años y medio atrás, de la empresa privada, empecé a impulsar muchísimo la internacionalización de la innovación. Mucho esfuerzo público-público. Por ejemplo, Corfo invierte muchísimo en innovación, pero de 10 emprendedores, lo conversaba con Daniel Undurraga al comienzo, Daniel Undurraga de Cornershop, se nos mueren afuera, 9. O la gran mayoría fracasa. Y en ese sentido hemos ido creando programas con Corfo, hemos firmado convenios con empresas, con instituciones americanas, chinas, europeas, hemos hecho eventos internacionales y vamos a seguir trabajando. Y sabes que hoy día, cuando precisamente yo siempre he sido optimista en mi vida, he tratado de serlo, y empujar mucho las cosas positivas. Y yo creo que esta pandemia nos dio la oportunidad. No sé, ustedes ven hoy día cómo se puede trabajar, no es lo ideal, pero se puede trabajar a través de videoconferencias y el teletrabajo y bajamos los costos también de las empresas. Y también Chile ha hecho un gran esfuerzo en exportar sus servicios, sobre todo en Latinoamérica. Servicios relacionados a educación ahora, a la salud, donde somos creo que bastante líderes. Y por Dios que tenemos que aprender de Canadá. Yo quiero decirles con mucho cariño, estoy viendo una serie hace rato ya porque es muy larga, estoy enamorado de Canadá. Heartland, que es una serie de 14 temporadas. Y realmente, aparte de esos bellísimos paisajes, yo además vengo del sur de Chile, quiero conocer al verte todo ese sector, lo conozco, admiro mucho lo que ha hecho Canadá. Cuando se habló de la modernización de la Cancillería en los años 90, hacia fines del 90, yo estaba todavía en Cancillería y me encargaron trabajar en esto. Y me acuerdo que me dijeron, anda a Canadá. Canadá está haciendo una importante modernización del Estado. Y me fui a Canadá. Tenía 32, 33 años. Y me fui a Canadá y por Dios que aprendí de lo que estaban haciendo. Desgraciadamente yo después me fui de Cancillería, me fui al sector privado. Por eso Ahora cuando he vuelto con renovado brío y siempre teniendo Canadá como modelo. Por lo tanto, yo creo que no quiero hablar, y van a hablar sobre ustedes, por qué Canadá, todo lo que significa Canadá desde el punto de vista que está, no sé, según el Foro Mundial Económico Mundial, esta casilla Canadá el puesto 16 en innovación a nivel mundial. Toronto ocupa el 4º lugar y Montreal el puesto número 16 de las 20 ciudades más tecnológicas. Eso seguramente lo van a decir nuestros amigos de la Cámara, nuestros amigos de la Embajada, pero yo quiero decirle que nosotros estamos muy orientados y queremos, obviamente, trabajar mucho más estrechamente con Canadá. Tenemos 2 oficinas comerciales, ¿no es cierto?, en Toronto y Montreal. Creo que tenemos mucho por avanzar, queremos hacer cosas. Por favor, cuenten con ProChile. Algunas de las actividades que estamos realizando, voy a mencionar rápidamente: participación, por ejemplo, de 3 empresas en el bootcamp virtual de la TAM Startups, que es una aceleradora que ayudará a las empresas chilenas a validar su modelo de negocio en un mercado complejo como el de Toronto, ¿no es cierto? También, un segundo punto importante, están participando 10 empresas chilenas en MTL Connect, evento de innovación enfocado en HealthTech, EdTech, MedTech, FinTech, entre otros. Un tercer punto creo que es importante resaltar, que es la realización del Market Entry Series, el cual viene a fortalecer también la relación con nuestros clientes nacionales y contrapartes en Canadá, como son Toronto Global, Montreal Connect, la Embajada de Canadá, la Cámara de Comercio Chilena Canadiense, el NACO y Deloitte Economy Shop. En cuarto lugar, estudio de mercado, ecosistema de innovación e innovación alimentaria, fundamentalmente para mantener informados a los empresarios chilenos. Sabemos que Chile hoy día es un gran exportador de materias primas, un gran exportador de alimentos. Estamos 20 en el ranking mundial, casi 20.000 millones de dólares de exportaciones de alimentos, y la innovación alimentaria es algo que también estamos trabajando fuertemente. Y finalmente, el ingreso de ProChile a la membresía del NACO, que es la Organización Nacional de Capitales Ángeles, para ser parte de su comunidad y tener acceso a sus programas de desarrollo de empresas, de networking, con su red aceleradora. Estamos contentos de anunciar esta alianza con el NACO para ser parte de esta comunidad y queremos lograr, como digo, resultados muy concretos. Esperamos seguir ampliando la lista de empresas chilenas presentes en el ecosistema, dado al margen. En el último año, 2 empresas de tecnología innovadora han pasado exitosamente en el proceso de soft landing con ProChile y la TAM Startups en Canadá, que es 416 Services y Godelios SK. No podemos también dejar de mencionar a Corner Shop, obviamente. Nos sentimos muy orgullosos de lo que Corner Shop está haciendo. Sin lugar a duda, un gran espejo para grandes innovadores que tenemos en nuestro país y también que están en Canadá de principio del 2019. Termino diciendo que estamos optimistas. Tenemos aquí también, ¿no es cierto?, una embajadora que empuja mucho, que es Patricia Peña, la embajadora de Canadá en Chile. Mark también, por supuesto. Tenemos nuestra gente también en el Canadá. Tenemos que lograr fomentar y potenciar los puentes. Nosotros queríamos hacer un ProChile Innovation Summit en Canadá este año, antes de la pandemia. Desgraciadamente sucedió lo que sucedió. Pero créanme que tenemos muy en la mira de poder hacer cosas con ustedes. Y cuenten, por favor, con nosotros, con nuestra energía, nuestra pasión y nuestras ganas. Así que un abrazo a todos de la distancia y muchas gracias por la iniciativa.
Muchas gracias, director O'Ryan, por sus palabras. Nos sentimos muy comprometidos, ya que vemos que para ProChile, Canadá es un mercado emergente, para la innovación chilena es un mercado prioritario, y tomamos esto como un gran desafío nosotros para las oficinas en Toronto y Montreal. Nuevamente, muchas gracias, director O'Ryan, por su tiempo y por acompañarnos hoy. Siguiendo con nuestro programa, tendremos también 2 paneles de discusión. El primero es Opportunities in Canada for Chilean Tech Companies, que será moderado por el señor Mark Richardson, Senior Trade Commissioner y consejero de la Embajada de Canadá en Chile. Y un segundo panel, muy interesante también, que se titula Business Expansion in Canada for Tech Companies, que será liderado por el señor Mark Bonnell. Mark es fundador y CEO de la empresa Modio y es además director de la Cámara de Comercio Chileno-Canadiense. Sin más, entonces, dejo con ustedes en el primer panel a Mark Richardson. Adelante.
Gracias, Fernando, y buenas tardes a todos. Como fue presentado, soy Mark Richardson, el consejero comercial aquí en la Embajada de Canadá en Chile. Y solo quiero saludarles en español porque quiero que sepan que hable español, porque me han pedido de hacer mis comentarios y de llevar la conversación en inglés. As Fernando mentioned, there is simultaneous translation. So if you would like to switch over to that, now would be a good time. So I have the honor of moderating our first panel, and really my job is simply to introduce our two speakers and turn things over to them. But I also want to give a little bit of context, introduce why we're talking about Montreal International and Toronto Global and not Invest in Canada. Well, we are talking about Invest in Canada. What we're talking about is a Canadian investment pitch where we have multiple partners involved. We are so keen on foreign investment that it's not just the Canadian government that works to try and attract it, but it's also our provincial governments. Some of you may not know that Canada is a federation. So we are made up of provinces who came together, like the United States came together to create a federation. And also we work with our municipal colleagues who are also seeking investment. Now, all these actors are in friendly competition. And that's a good thing for you as a potential investor into Canada, because it means that if you play your cards right, you will get the best deal possible for you. And frankly, it's friendly competition because ultimately all the actors that we have within our investment ecosystem want the same thing, which is for you as a company looking at Canada to find the best place for you to be as successful as possible in Canada, in the United States, and in wider North America. Because our experience has shown us that if you are successful in Montreal, in Toronto, in another city, that there's a great chance that you will grow your company and invest in other provinces and other municipalities, other cities across Canada. So we are in healthy competition, which is good for you. Play your cards right. If you decide to invest in Canada, whether it be in Montreal, Toronto, or another city, it is a win for Canada. So our session today is going to talk a little bit about what our offer is from an investment perspective for you as a company. And on our panel, we have Elisa Fiusa, who is originally from Brazil and has been a project manager with Montreal International's foreign direct investment team since February 2019. Prior to that, she was involved in a number of roles in Canada, Japan, France, and Brazil. Also on our panel today, speaking second, we'll have Graham Cook, who is a specialist in investment attraction from Toronto Global. And Toronto Global, like Montreal International, is an economic development agency focused on, among other things, attracting investment into the greater Toronto area. And Graham has been with Toronto Global, like I said, from 2017, and has been working in the field of economic development for the past 8 years. So without further ado, I will hand the floor over to Elisa.
Thank you, Mark. I'm just gonna share my screen, just a second. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect.
We can see it.
Perfect. I'm just gonna, just one second. Okay, perfect. So, hola, buenos días. Es un gusto participar de esta actividad hoy. And I would like to start with a short video.
Our city is unique. It buzzes with creativity. It beats to the rhythm of its own success. And we're here to make sure Our metropolis, with its rich history and promising future, shines on the global stage. We are international. The investment promotion agency for Greater Montreal. We hold huge infinite potential, opening students around the world. With the strength of our network, we're here to support you in building connections, forging collaborations, and bringing your projects to life. We're here to show you all the city has to offer. From aerospace, VFX, and artificial intelligence, to video games, life sciences, and health technologies, we know our metropolis by heart, its hidden gems, its needs, and its endless possibilities. Our mission is to share with you the assets that define the region's identity, its cosmopolitan energy, its safe and open culture, purchasing power, and above all, it's a quality of life that's known around the world. So welcome home to Montreal.
Located in North America, we're a 9-minute flight away from Boston and New York City. We have a population of 4.3 million residents, and 23% of them are foreign-born. In 2018 and 2019, Montreal had the best economic growth in Canada. Last year, Montreal International supported a total of $2.6 billion in foreign direct investments. So Montreal is a world leader in high value added sectors, and I would like to highlight the following ones. With regards to artificial intelligence, Montreal has the highest concentration of deep learning researchers in the world. We have the largest VFX and animation hub in Canada, and we're among the top 5 largest video game development hub in the world. We're also among the top 6 largest life science and health technologies hub in North America. And last but not least, we're very strong in aerospace, being the 2nd largest hub in North America. So on the right, you can see a sample of the major companies that have a presence here in Montreal. So here we have the top reasons to invest in Montreal's tech sector. Montreal has a huge talent pool of tech workers, 179,000 working in 5,000 companies. 72,000 of them are working in software development. Montreal is among the top 5 cities in Canada and in the US for highest tech jobs concentration. Montreal is also considered the best student city in the Americas, with more than $1 billion in funds for university research every year, and more than 17,000 university students are enrolled in IT-related programs. So Montreal has the lowest operating costs in Canada and in the US for a software development company, which represents a 29% advantage on average. One of the reasons for that is the tax incentive for software development available in the province of Quebec that can go up to 30% of the amount that the company will pay on salaries and eligible expenses. So here is a sample of recent investments made in Montreal by global players. And to finish, you can see here the main tax incentives available in Montreal. I'm not going to get into detail of 5 minutes, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer to your questions afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elisa. Graham.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just share my screen here. I'll start by saying I've spent a couple weeks in Chile back in 2016. Big fan of the country and its people, but I won't subject you all to my terrible Spanish. So here we go. Yeah, so thanks, Mark, for the introduction. Thanks, Lisa, for your presentation. I'm Graham with Toronto Global, and I'll jump right in. So Toronto Global exists to promote Canada and the Toronto region globally. We assist companies to set up operations here and succeed here in the long run. Everything that we do is free for the companies that we work with, and really we work with companies of any size at any stage of a potential investment. Here's where we are, right sort of in the middle of North America. We're about an hour by flight to Montreal, New York, Boston, Detroit, Chicago. And we do actually have North America's best connected international airport. We have daily direct flights all across the United States, to South America as well, including Santiago, and we're well connected to Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. All told, the Toronto region has about 7 million people, and we're one of North America's largest and fastest growing metros. So in the Canadian context, that makes us quite big. We represent about 20% of Canada's GDP. We have about 40% of Canada's head offices. So, by no means is Canada as centralized as Chile, but Toronto is by some margin the biggest economic hub in the country. We are also very, very diversified. We are the second largest finance hub in the Americas after New York City. We have a major manufacturing base. We make as many cars as Michigan, which makes the most cars in the United States. And we have major clusters in life sciences, food, agriculture, clean tech. And this diversity is really important for a number of reasons. First of all, we have quite a bit of cross-industry pollination, lots of selling opportunities. But really for technology companies, it offers the opportunity to kind of engage with a really wide variety of industry verticals, all in one city. So we are Canada's largest tech hub. One stat that we use quite often, and it comes from a CBRE report, is that in 2018, Toronto created more jobs than Seattle, San Francisco, and New York combined, which is really an astounding figure, and I think speaks to the scale and momentum about what's going on here. And just a couple more highlights. We have over 300 artificial intelligence companies and a major AI institution. We are Canada's center of venture capital activity. And we have had, in the last year, major investments from the likes of Samsung, Uber, NVIDIA, Fujitsu Labs, and Netflix in the tech and software development space. So quickly, why is all of this happening here? Part of it is Canada's business environment in general. It's friendly, it's stable. There's little red tape. We have lots of free trade agreements. But the way that we explain it and the way that we promote it to companies is that it's really all about talent. So companies, when they come to Toronto, can grow, attract, and retain talent, unlike anywhere else. We grow talent out of our universities and colleges, through which we graduate around 40,000 students a year in science, technology, engineering, and math. We attract talent. We welcome about 100,000 or more skilled immigrants to our region every year, and we retain talent. Once people are here, they like it, there's a path to permanent residency and citizenship, and they stay. And not only is this talent available, but it's affordable. So you can see Toronto has talent around the quality of Boston or New York, with the cost really lower than any US center. And for what it's worth, most major cities in Canada, Montreal, Vancouver, would be in a similar position on this graph to Toronto. So I'll just leave you by saying and noting again that diversity is our strength, really in more ways than one. Toronto is 50% or more foreign born, so that's people born outside of Canada. We are the most diverse and multicultural city in the world. We're open to the world, we're welcoming. And if you've not yet had the chance to visit, we do hope to be able to welcome you up here soon, just as soon as the world sort of goes back to some sense of normalcy. So that's it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions after the two panels. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Just explain quickly again, I think Fernando mentioned it, but I'll repeat that after each panel, we'll have a quick fireside chat. Unfortunately, we can't do it in person. And I have a couple of questions for our panelists. And then we'll do the same with the second panel. And then any questions from you, the participants, that you would like to direct to our panelists or to any of our participants, please put those in the Q&A, and I will be moderating that discussion at the end of our time together. So thank you, Elisa and Graham, for your presentations. I think one of the key things that I'm assuming that our participants today are all asking and wondering and would love to hear from you on is what opportunities Canada offers for Canadian ventures specifically. And given your specialization on Toronto and Montreal, it would be great to hear what Toronto has to offer and what Montreal has to offer. Elisa, would you go first, please?
Yeah, sure. And I'm sorry if my connection is cutting a little bit, but I'm trying my best. So the tax incentives available in Montreal make us very attractive. As I have mentioned during my presentation, the province of Quebec offers a 30% tax incentive for software development. 24% of them are refundable, which means that at the end of the fiscal year, the government of Quebec will send you a check with up to 24% of the amount that the company paid on salaries and eligible expenses. Another example would be for the video game industry. We have a refundable tax incentive that can go up to 37.5% of the amount of the company paid on salaries. Also, Montreal has a booming startup ecosystem. 6 of the 8 most active VCs in Canada in 2019 are based in Greater Montreal. We have more than 30 incubators and accelerators. As I've mentioned, we have very attractive operating costs. Overall, running a business in Greater Montreal costs less than in any other major metropolitan area in Canada and in the US. On average, it represents a 26% cost advantage for high tax sectors. We also have the most affordable tax salary costs and a huge talent pool of tech workers, as I've mentioned. And last but not least, I'll say that we have a low cost of living and an exceptional quality of life.
Great, and Graham, what differentiates Toronto from Montreal? What's your pitch?
Sure. So I'll start by saying as well that I'm from the west coast of Canada near Vancouver. I've lived in Montreal. I make Toronto my home. So I really do like to lead with Canada first and then let the chips fall where they may and whatever makes most sense geographically for companies to locate. I think what sets Toronto apart is diversity of industry and scale. So we are sort of the best connected city in Canada. We are the largest both in ultimate terms and for tech. But really, I mean, I think Canada and Toronto in particular, given our ties to the United States, is a really great gateway to the North American market. You get the proximity to the United States, you get access to the American market, but you're in an environment that is a little easier to navigate and certainly more supportive. It's also more cost effective, as Elisa already mentioned. So, we have the lower salaries. We have the R&D incentives that are easier to access and more generous than anything you'd find really in any OECD country. So your dollar here goes further, whether you're in Toronto or Montreal. Of course, as I mentioned as well, I think that the access to talent, which is coming out of our great universities in both of our cities and through our access to global talent through immigration, allows companies to scale up in Canada in a way that's much easier than you'd find, particularly in major US tech centers like New York or San Francisco, but really makes us pretty competitive with any global tech center.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks, Elisa. So as you can see, we like I said at the beginning, we have some friendly competition. which is good for you as you look to expand into North America and consider Canada as your base to do that. So Graham and Elisa, my next question for you is, how would you guide Chilean ventures through the soft landing process that's available, the processes and programs that are available in both Montreal and Toronto? And Lisa, since I asked you to go first that last time, I'm going to ask Graham to go first this time. Graham.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, so I'd start by saying that in general, establishing operations in Canada is fairly simple and it's fairly fast. I think, you know, if companies do the research and they do the homework, which we're all here to help with, the process itself is pretty easy, especially when you compare us to other jurisdictions globally. What that process actually looks like, you know, depends on the needs of the company we're working with, but you know, typically we'll have an introductory meeting with a company or an intake call. We want to understand the company's strategy. We want to understand why they're interested in Canada, what they expect to get out of having a presence here. We want to know what the next 2 years looks like for the company, what the next 5 years looks like. And once we kind of get all those questions answered, we map out a plan and a process to sort of make that a reality. So, you know, I often sort of break what we do into two kind of buckets. And the first bucket is really the nuts and bolts of setting up operations here. So we guide companies through how to incorporate, you know, if they have questions about taxation, incentives, accounting. We help them find real estate. We help them with immigration. We help them with finding people to hire. That's sort of the nuts and bolts. The second part of what we do is really we try to find any way to assist companies to do things they might not be able to do themselves, that they might not know, you know, they don't know what they don't know when they come to Canada. So we often connect companies with industry groups or potential partnerships. We partner them with academic institutions for research projects or to access that talent pipeline. Maybe we find them the right incubator or accelerator that matches their needs. You know, maybe it's once an office is opening, we help craft a press release or have an event where we have government dignitaries so that they make a bit of a splash and people know that they're setting up in Canada. You know, I guess really we try to be committed partners to ensure that we're helping companies as much as possible and helping them succeed here any way we can.
Great, thanks, Graham. Elisa.
Yeah, so Montreal International has a pretty similar approach to Toronto Global's one, and so Montreal International is a one-stop shop for companies willing to set up shop in Montreal. Our job is to make your life easier throughout the whole process. As 85% of our funds come from the Government of Canada, Quebec, and Greater Montreal municipalities, our services are free and confidential. The other 15% of our funds come from private partners that are the service providers. So for example, law firms, accounting firms, recruitment firms. They offer the services that are going to be essential for the companies that are setting up shop in Montreal. So we also have an international mobility team. So for example, if a Chilean company wants to transfer an employee from Chile to Montreal, this team will help them with the work permit application, for example. We also have a team of economists that have an access to a very extensive database. So for example, if the company wants to compare the operating costs in different cities in North America or in the world, this team can provide them with this type of information. And I would finish saying that we also have a team that is in charge of talent attraction and retention. So if the company is having some difficulties to find a certain type of employee, this team organizes recruitment missions abroad. So yeah, I would say that we have a pretty similar way to work as Toronto Global.
Thank you, Lisa and Graham, both for those answers. So I think one of the key things that I've taken away from your responses is that healthy competition is good. and that you both have very robust services to work with clients who are looking at investing in your municipalities, in your cities, to help them with the immigration process, to help them find space, to help them find talent, and to help them find clients, which is a very friendly approach to attracting investment and working with companies to try and ensure their success in expanding into Canada. So thank you very much. With that, estamos a nuestro tiempo de nuestro panel. Y pues tengo el gusto de pasar la palabra a mi colega y amigo Mark Bunnell. Mark, the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks very much. So this is a bit of a comedy because it seems like they're cutting down trees right outside my window here. So it could be a bit of bad luck. Listen, I wanted to ask Pablo Herrera if he could have the questions that I had sent ready just in case a tree falls on my house or the internet cuts off, okay? So look, it's a real pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm really honored to moderate this. I'm a Canadian tech, entrepreneur, actually in Chile. Have a 100-person company in between Chile and Colombia. And I was asked, I'm also a director of the Chilean Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And so I love the topic. I had the opportunity to assess myself different paths. And I wanted to ask my three esteemed colleagues here, Javier and Pablo and Claudio, a series of questions, just so everyone could get their head around what it means to set up in Canada and try to get a good hands-on perspective of what would be involved. So I wanted to start first with Javier. And I wanted to ask Javier, where did Corner Shop make their base in Canada and why?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. We based ourselves in Toronto in the beginning. We arrived in the beginning of 2019. And why? Because Toronto is a hub in terms of technology and for us, we wanted to come to North America to expand to United States and across Canada, and we have to choose the biggest city that is friendly in terms of business, power friendly with power users, and Toronto was the ideal place to start. And right now we expand ourselves to Montreal, Ottawa, Calgary, and we are planning to expand all across the big cities of Canada from between the 2020 and 2021.
Cool. And how big an operation are you running with people on the ground on the business side? Do you have engineers that you've hired from Canada as well, or how are you running the operation? How has your experience been doing that?
Well, right now we have 40 people. We have no Chileans in the local team, but they are all Canadians, but from everywhere of the world. We have a marketing team, operations team, tech team, led by a Mexican girl. And actually, the team is with people from all different kind of areas.
Cool. So let's do this. Let me switch over to Claudio for a second. I think Claudio has a little bit of a presentation. Claudio, maybe you could, I didn't introduce you guys, but I assumed that everyone had seen some of the profiles of the people in the webinar. So maybe Claudio could do this presentation and then we can go from there and we'll continue with the questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you to ProChile for hosting this event today. I found the comments earlier by the director of ProChile, Jorge Orion, to be tremendously inspiring in terms of this pandemic essentially providing an opportunity in terms of the internationalization of innovation and the opportunity as well to increase collaboration between our two great countries. So I look forward to working with you and with your team, Director, in building this important relationship between Canada and Chile. Also, thank you to Fernando Acuna, Trade Commissioner of Chile in Canada, I have appreciated the work that has gone into hosting this event, and the entire ProChile team has been exceptional. It's great to have the Chilean Chamber of Commerce and the Canadian Embassy in Santiago working together to promote the progressive development of commercial relations between Chile and Canada, and helping to improve business opportunities for both countries to drive economic growth. A little bit about NACO. So we were founded 20 years ago, and since that time we have built a national network of investors around the country. 4,200 angel investors from coast to coast to coast, more than 40 regional angel groups, and 45 of Canada's most prominent incubators and accelerators. NACO is also the trusted partner of the Government of Canada in helping to administer the Startup Visa program under the government's direction. I joined NACO a little bit over a year ago now as CEO because I find the work that NACO has done in the Canadian environment and its international connections to be exceptionally inspiring. Over the last 10 years, since we've been tracking investment data, our members have invested more than $1 billion into more than 1,500 companies around the country. What's unique with the angel community is that Canada is such a very large country, and Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver are some of the large cities, but angel investors are everywhere, and they've contributed to some extraordinary success stories around the country. And so what's exceptionally unique about angel investors is that because they're in all communities, in all provinces, in all territories around Canada, they're able to support local entrepreneurs, and that in turn contributes to local economic growth and local job creation around the country. As we look into the economic recovery, entrepreneurs are ideally situated to invent modern solutions to the modern problems that we're seeing. And we're seeing this already in healthcare and clean tech, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and software platforms like the one we're communicating on today. We have many well-known and successful companies that were founded here in Canada that you may be aware of. And so Shopify is one based out of Ottawa. Slack, which is a very well-known communications tool, was founded in Vancouver. And we have many other world-class companies, including the very well-known BlackBerry of many years ago. And so there's extraordinary innovation that's happening in Canada. And what's very interesting about our country is that the Startup Visa program represents something that we hold very dear, and that we're a welcoming country to entrepreneurs and to individuals from all around the world. And so we are committed to attracting top entrepreneurial talent into the country and helping to launch innovative startups here in Canada. Since the launch of the Startup Visa program, foreign entrepreneurs representing about 200 startups became permanent residents and launched their businesses in Canada with the help of the Startup Visa program. One amazing success story, which was just reported in Forbes a few days ago, is Applyboard. They entered into Canada through the Startup Visa program with the support of one of our designated entities, the Accelerator Center in Waterloo, which is about an hour and a half away from Toronto. And they just reported in Forbes raised $55 million in a Series C extension, and they've raised over $130 million with a $1.4 billion valuation. So world-class companies can be built here, and they can be built by entrepreneurs that come here through the Startup Visa program and establish their operations here. I would encourage you to go to our website, builtbyangels.com. We have put some resources on there to make angel investing more well understood. There are some resources for prospective investors in Chile to gain a greater understanding as to how angel investing works in Canada, and also to entrepreneurs so that they can equip themselves with the knowledge that they need to attract capital into their companies from Canadian-based angels, and perhaps even angels in Chile. We host periodic roundtables. This is a good opportunity to get a feel for the ecosystem in Canada, and quite often these roundtables include participants ranging from, we had the Minister of Economic Development at the federal level, Minister Melanie Joly. We've also had Minister of Innovation, Navdeep Bains, and others of a similar caliber, including, of course, entrepreneurs and investors and ecosystem champions from around the country. So I would encourage you to visit builtbyangels.com and gain a greater understanding as to the work that we're doing. And like I said at the outset, I see tremendous opportunity for collaboration for Canada to support entrepreneurs based out of Chile, for us to attract investment into both countries and to help world-class companies emerge from both Chile and Canada.
So Charlie, if you had to summarize like the top 3 reasons why Canada is like the destination for a tech entrepreneur from Chile, what would be like your top 3 reasons why I'd use Canada as the base?
Right, so I'd say one of the most unique attributes of Canada is that we are a country of immigrants. And so diversity is deeply woven into our culture. We're welcoming of newcomers. You can have an accent from anywhere in the world, and you will be viewed and treated as a Canadian on par with all other Canadians. And so it's a very welcoming place, and that's important because the lower the systemic barriers you face as a newcomer, and I say this as someone that's second generation Canadian, first generation born Canadian actually. The fewer the systemic barriers, the greater the access to opportunity. And then of course, Canada is ideally situated in terms of its gateway to a massive destination market, particularly the United States. And then because of this international society that we have, we are a gateway to the world. And then of course, we have extraordinary pension funds, banking institutions, and a very robust angel community and venture capital community that has developed over the last, particularly over the last 10 years, but it has developed over time. And so access to capital is on the rise in Canada, and the work that we're doing at NACO is focused on continuing to increase access to capital by an order of magnitude. So, to summarize, we're a diverse society. We will, as a launching pad, there is access to the world, and so it's a gateway to other destination markets, and access to capital is on the rise here in Canada.
And what would you say would be the primary disadvantages? If you had to simplify it, what would be the number 1, number 2 disadvantages of using Canada?
Right. So Canada is a very large country. So you could say that as a result of it being a very large country and having, in terms of geography, having one particular destination market in close proximity, if you compare that to Europe, in any country in Europe, you have access to a number of different countries. But of course, as the director of ProChile mentioned at the outset, this pandemic has presented an opportunity. And so what we're seeing is the internationalization of innovation, and where you're located is less important than what's more important is in fact the access to the resources that you need. So you can be located anywhere in Canada and still have access to other destination markets. So that disadvantage that may have existed prior to COVID is quickly evaporating. And so you can establish your business anywhere in Canada and have all the resources that you're able to attract by virtue of being within our borders, and at the same point have access to the entire country and in fact the world.
Great. Let me ask one question that came up when you mentioned the company Applyboard. Was what the story behind Applyboard? Were these immigrants that had an idea, or did they already have something going? Can you talk for maybe just a couple minutes about the sequence of Applyboard, if you know that?
Yeah, so I don't have an in-depth knowledge, but my understanding is that they were newcomers from Iran, and they came here, they built their company at the Waterloo Accelerator Center. I think whenever you build something at that magnitude in terms of more than $1 billion in terms of valuation and hundreds of employees, that's the aspiration, but that tends to be outside the scope of what you believe is reality. And then of course, as the snowball effect occurs and as you build the company, quite often what I hear is that you look back, and many entrepreneurs have told me this, that they look back and what they achieved was very different than what they had originally dreamed. And that tends to be just because at the starting point, it's difficult to dream big. It's difficult to dream about building a company that's worth $1 billion, that has hundreds of employees, that has international reach, but they were able to achieve it. And I think that speaks to the opportunity that we have as a country to support entrepreneurs from other countries in terms of access to capital, mentorship, and all the resources that they need to grow and scale.
Excellent. Very interesting. So Pablo, let's move on and let me ask you a few questions. Take advantage. So Pablo, what would you say if you had to put yourself in the Chilean perspective, and you're thinking if you're a tech company in Chile, What would be, like, in your perspective, the right time to try to make things happen in Canada, knowing what you know about the local reality in Chile?
Yeah, so what I would say, Mark, I think, you know, for startups and entrepreneurs, I think one of the main things, and I think is key for their sustainability and the business, is like, you need to have a sort of a consolidation in your own market, and a way you have to be able to validate either your service or your product, have some competitiveness in the market, and has some traction. Hopefully you get to build some loyal customers or clients that they can sustain your business on an ongoing basis. I think that's one of the main criteria that you have to go through when you want to start thinking in going abroad. Also, other thing that I think is important that you can consider, if you don't want to just do a big bang in terms of just jump to a new geography, is try to find a way to reach out to new customers or new clients in this new geography. I think there's no better way to get to know a business and a market if you can engage with few customers or clients at the beginning and get to learn about the culture, how you're doing business in that market. And with the new reality, everything being digital, virtual, I think it's much easier for everybody to be able to reach those markets. And you, as everybody have seen today, I mean, you have so many organizations on the private and the public side that they're willing to help and support to find those niche and find those customers and clients. And the third aspect that I think is important is that you need to have a sort of a funding for this. You can't take the risk to take your working capital and put it on risk and diversify your business when you go in a journey like this. I mean, you have to do sort of a funding raising, or, you know, have excess in cash, because anyways, is an opportunity, but also at the same time is a risk. So for the most part, ideally, you can go and do a funding raise specifically focus on, you know, get your business abroad and you know, screening new markets for your business and expand your capabilities. And the last thing that also is interesting to do is, you know, sometimes you can do JVs. I mean, there's a lot of companies, local companies in Canada, that would be willing and interested in you know, value propositions that, you know, startups and entrepreneurs in Chile can bring. We have a lot of similarities in sectors, as we heard before. So there's a lot of knowledge in Chile and capabilities that can be used and benefit in Canada as well. So, I mean, there's pros in terms of that you can have a accelerated way to get in the market and get to the customers. What are the cons, I would say, is that if your value proposition, your product or service doesn't fit well with your JV partner, it might at the end it not work well, because the supply change and the market strategy and the go-market strategy might not be the same, and your products and services might not end up getting to the customers in the way that you would like. So I think those are the main aspects that I would consider before making a decision like that.
Cool. So maybe not everybody knows that Deloitte Chile and Deloitte Canada is actually one company. And I had met you guys at Deloitte Chile through my friends at Deloitte Canada. And my question is, have you, as a combined company, Chilean, Canadian entity, have you guys been working on certain processes to facilitate, you know, the advice that you would give to say tech startups who want to launch in Canada? What type of collaboration has Deloitte been working on together as a combined entity?
Yeah, that's true, Mark. I mean, since like actually 2016, like 4 or 5 years ago, we combined the Chile business, Deloitte Chile business, with the Canadian Deloitte business, and it's been a terrific journey, and we're very proud and happy for have done that. Definitely one of the rationales why we got together is because we thought that we should be able to build a corridor for trading between Canada and Chile, and using Chile as a hub for Latin America, and using Canada as a hub also for the closest entry point for the US as the large market that everybody wanted access to. The other way is Mexico, but a funny story, it seems that for Latin countries, especially for Chile, I think is a better way going through Canada. So with that rationality, we have built in both ends different programs. We call it like doing business, that we help companies to get set up from a legal perspective to, you know, regulatory, audit, tax, and the different, you know, regulatory needs that they're requiring in different markets, especially on the M&A side, because most of the times there are acquisitions or JVs involved. So we try to support that, and we try to get a feeling and an approach from an industry perspective, and specifically on startups and entrepreneurs is something that we are, you know, very focusing right now. We're doing alliances with venture capitals. We were working with ProChile as well to figure out with Sophia and others to do different initiatives. Also, we engage with the Region Board of Trade of Toronto as well to do, and ProChile to do different initiatives to be able to engage, you know, Chilean startups and entrepreneurs companies to go and get to know the market in Canada. You know, there was many activities planned for this year, but as we know, with COVID, everything changed. But it doesn't mean that, you know, our view and strategy stay there. I mean, we believe that there's opportunities both ways, and we believe that, you know, the sort of sophistication that we have in our startups and entrepreneurs and the experience like, you know, Corner Shop and others, it talks by itself. So I think, you know, definitely we're in that space, and we're getting bigger and more focused on it.
So I have a fun question for Javier. I want to see if I can tap Javier's experience in Canada. And my question to Javier is, what challenges have you guys had to had to overcome that were a lot different than, you know, what you experienced in Chile and in Mexico? And so that's like the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is just, how do you guys feel about, you know, the Canadian market for what you guys are doing? So talk a little bit about like more on the ground experience and what you're seeing with your business.
Well, we faced many types of challenges in the beginning because we arrived two guys, first the CEO, then me. We didn't have any network, not at all. So if you imagine, if I need to hire a lawyer, I don't know if the lawyer is good or bad. Same with the accountant, same with the locations. We didn't know anyone. So when you try to hire people and you know Canada is one of the best places in the world, and no one applies because no one knew Corner Shop. We didn't have any brand recognition. So, and also we didn't have the biggest budget, and we had huge competitors because it was a great market. We knew we had a very good service. So we started to grow from the ground in terms of we had to create a database from zero, from the scratch of users. So that was the biggest challenge at the beginning, I believe, in the first 7 months. And once we started growing up and we make our partnership with Uber, we start to become known in Toronto. So we start to expand across the Great Toronto and the Great Ontario. And then we start to get much better talent of Ivy League universities of Canada. And now the challenge is to expand all across Canada to all cities I mentioned before. In terms of another challenge is the competition. You have great companies doing the same business not actually the same business, but very similar. And you have one of the biggest one of the world called Instacart. That's the #1 in the States and #1 in Canada, and a local one called Inaboogie, #1 of the Canadians. So we have to compete with them, and we prevail. We prevail. We are not #1, but we are growing very, very fast, because once you prove your service is good, the Canadians start to use it again and again and again. About what we gain and we think has been great in this business, I believe Canadian market is very stable. It's very stable, and it's profitable. But right now we are still testing the Canadian market, because Canada is so big that we don't know the Vancouver market, because probably the idiosyncrasy of the people is very different on the industry from Toronto, from Montreal. So we are discovering, learning from mistakes also. So we start very small. We started very small, because if we fail small. Right now we have a big operation, so probably our mistakes are going to get bigger. And yeah, it has been a success for us. And it's from our launching of every country in Latin America where we have presence, have been the second best launch in their history, better than Chile even. So that's it.
Very cool. Very, very good. So I don't know, should we open the questions up to a broader audience, or is there anything else, Pablo or Claudio or Javier, that you'd like to add about Canada that you think might be good advice to our Chilean tech entrepreneurs?
I mean, the only comment, if I may, and maybe Javier that experienced that, and it happened to me from being a Chilean guy traveling a lot to Canada and get to know Canada culture. The similarities about the two countries are amazing. I mean, you see it on the map and you say these are completely different countries, completely different geographies, completely opposite, and actually they're very, very, very similar. You know, we share the same main sectors: mining, energy and resources, commodities, agriculture, financial service, retail, exactly the same as Chile. Canada is a completely mid-market market. I mean, they don't have many listed like global companies, and the main market is private companies, same as Chile. The time zone in Canada goes from, you know, far from Vancouver all the way to Halifax, and is like, I don't know, 8 hours difference. And between us, you know, is like, in the worst case is 2 hours, and best case scenario, we get the same time zone. Culture-wise, I think we call it in Deloitte, we call it the Latin guys of the North, because we believe that they're very similar in the culture. I mean, they're very respectful, they're very humble, they're very open-minded. Diversity, as Claudio was mentioned, is key, inclusion as well. So I think there's a lot of things that make you feel, even though they're 13,000 kilometers away, very, very comfortable being there. So I don't know if Javier experienced the same journey in his process there, living in the States for many years and being traveling to Canada. I can tell you that it makes you feel very comfortable. The only issue is the weather, but we can work it out.
We're working on that.
Very good, very good. I just wanted to say I concur with everything you guys were saying. Claudia's point of being an open country, being a country of immigrants, that goes a very long way. It's hardwired into the culture, and it's a big advantage to using Canada as a base, as opposed to say the country to the south, which has a big diversity in opinions about immigration. And Canada really shines when it comes to, you know, attracting the best and the brightest people from all over the world, completely multicultural and very open-minded to, you know, investing in smart people and people that want to work hard. So it's great conversation, guys. Very interesting. Let's maybe open it up, and I'll pass it back to the Q&A session. Shall we do it, Mark? Should we do the Q&A or?
Thanks. I'm back. I got booted off, so I hope no one else has had any technical issues. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Claudio. Thank you, Javier and Pablo, for your responses and for that excellent session on your experiences and your advice for Canada. So we have a number of questions that have come in. And the first one that I'm going to ask comes from Rodrigo Moroni, and his question is: he started business activities in the United States in January 2020, and the immigration process has just been as slow as molasses, as we say. If it's as slow as molasses in January, so it's been slow. And as a result, he hasn't been able to advance the way his business interests the way that he's wanted to. Will Canada simplify the process, speed up the timelines in order to more quickly enable him to reside in Canada and set up his business in the short term? I think this question would be great for maybe Elisa, Graham, and Claudio, but we'll let Elisa start.
Yeah, sure. So with regards to immigration, I think Canada is a great country that supports, as was already mentioned, foreign people that want to come and work. So I would say that especially to other countries, the immigration process can be led more faster. Of course, that the type of visa is going to depend on the needs of the person, and each situation is a different one. So it would be difficult to say large how it could work, but we see a lot of companies that decided to, especially this year and the past few years, that decided to go to Canada exactly because of the immigration, especially with regards to bringing foreign workers from the country of origin of the company to Canada. Depending on the visa, it can take a month to bring those people to Canada. So every situation has to be analyzed, but I would say that Canada it's different from other countries, especially because it's very open to immigrants. Yeah.
Graham or Claudio, do you have anything to add? Claudio, I see you've unmuted your microphone.
Yeah, so I would say, I don't have any unique visibility here, but we are the trusted partner that works under the direction of Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada in relation to the Startup Visa program. And what I imagine are the tensions is, one, attracting high potential entrepreneurs into the country. And so I'm sure that we can do a much better job at promoting the Startup Visa program abroad to minimize those frictions so that entrepreneurs that are interested in moving to Canada have rapid access to the program. I know that we have a lot of wonderful designated entities that participate in the program that do a tremendous amount of work in terms of outreach. And so I think it's commendable the work that they do. And then in terms of, I would imagine that that what is a priority for government is ensuring that that when individuals come to this country that they succeed, because then that creates a virtuous cycle. So if they have, and this is me speaking as a citizen, not on behalf of any particular organization, but I would imagine that when individuals come here and then they succeed and they have a wonderful experience, that increases the likelihood of them, telling their friends and their colleagues in other countries, and then it creates that virtuous cycle. So I would imagine that perhaps that's one of the challenges of any country, of ensuring that when newcomers land on the ground, that they have all the resources that they need in order to be able to be successful in every respect. But to the point of the question, I think we can always do better. And Canada's a very large country, so I see no reason why we couldn't significantly increase the amount of immigration that we have, and I'm sure it's more of an administrative challenge than it is a desire. Our borders are open and we are quite welcoming, but questions like that are very helpful to encourage us to do better.
Great. Graham.
Yeah, so I'll just add, with the caveat that COVID, of course, has changed almost everything, and immigration has slowed down. One of our biggest advantages in Canada is because we're a smaller country, we're more nimble than the United States. Our immigration system, in a way, was built from the top down to be business friendly. And I mostly work with companies from the United States, and in the last year or so in particular, the biggest challenge they have is with immigration. And it's both trying to hire from abroad and bringing workers into the United States, and then keeping workers in the United States who are on, for example, a very common H-1B visa. And so they call me up, they tell me what they're doing, they ask if Canada's a solution, both a hedge against immigration, a destination to go, and a place where they can hire from. If it's software development, it usually is. The timelines are faster, it's easier, and yeah, certainly Canada would be a much easier immigration system to navigate than the United States.
I think the only thing I would add, just from a policy perspective, is that Canada's population growth isn't fast enough to sustain our economic growth long term. So we are a net importer. We have a proactive policy of importing talent, and that's why we have programs like the Startup Visa Program, which Claudio Rojas helps to administer. I think you will find that the startup that landing in Canada legally with a business visa or an immigrant visa is quite a bit quicker than in Canada, than in the United States. All right, so our second question is also, I think anybody can handle it, but I think, any of the panelists, I throw it open to you, is, are soft landing programs, or I guess actually, Claudio, this one is for you. Are soft landing programs strictly for founders, or would they provide passes for the entire team?
Right. So my understanding of the Startup Visa Program, and I don't directly administer it. I have a staff member that does a tremendous amount of work on that. But my understanding is that it extends to I believe it's 4 key people, or to essentially the key people in the team. So it extends beyond the founders. So it allows for, in general terms, the executives and their families of the company to establish themselves in Canada if they're successful in being admitted through the Startup Visa Program.
Great, thank you. So our third question is from Alejandro Fuentes, and he's starting a business in Toronto. It's an app for mobile phones, and he wants to incorporate his business. And he understands that there's 3 ways to do that. There's a provincial extension, setting up a subsidiary, or standard corporation. And he's looking for some advice. He has his matriz, his company is in Chile, but he's also looking to the future. So it's not just this particular company and this app that he has that he's looking towards. It's a second app that he's looking to develop, and so he wants to figure out the best way to approach setting himself up. Pablo, maybe, I don't know, from Deloitte's perspective, if you have any advice from that, and then after Pablo, turn it to either Graham or Lisa.
Yeah, so actually, more or less what I said before, I think, there's different organizations like the ones that are today here in the webinar, as well as firms like Deloitte and other professional service firms that they would be willing to help to establish those businesses in a foreign geography, from a legal perspective to let them run the business. I think it's just a way to get access and information about it, because I think there's a lot of different sources. Some there's no money involved, so it might be able to get some advice at a free cost, and some others you might have to pay sort of fee, but definitely there's different ways that they can access and not doing this by themselves, and also get a little support, not only, and that's what I think is more valuable, not only in specific matter, legal regulation matter that they're involved, but also get a bit of perspective in terms of how could be that soft landing for them in the new market. So I think the support is out there, is just to reach out.
Thanks. Graham or Lisa, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
Sure.
Yes.
I don't have too much to add. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll be quick. I would really just echo what Pablo said. Feel free to reach out to Elisa or myself. We do rely on service providers and lawyers. Without getting too technical, you would probably incorporate as a subsidiary and do it interprovincially, but somebody would ask you a few questions and see what would make the most sense for you.
Yeah, I was just going to add that incorporating a company in the province of Quebec is a pretty fast and simple process. Different from some other provinces, to incorporate a company here, you don't need to have a Canadian resident on the board of the company. So that is pretty useful for some of the foreign companies that want to set up shop in Montreal and that don't have a Canadian citizen on their board.
Okay, thanks all. I wonder, we have a question that's come up about the personal impact of moving to Canada, of a founder, owner of a company, a startup moving to Canada. What has that been? Has it been positive or negative? I'm wondering, Javier, is that something that you would feel comfortable addressing?
Well, I'm not a founder. I would love to, but to run an operation without being there, well, actually we are doing it now, but because we run the operation remotely because of COVID, everyone is home office. We have the tech developers, but the operations is also remotely because it's just an app. But I don't know how would you create the team to run it without actually being there. And because people will want to apply to your app and they need to know it. What happened to us when we were an app just arriving to Canada, people start Googling us before applying to our company, but they saw everything about corner shop in Spanish and talking about Chilean experience, Mexican experience, and not Canadian experience. So many of the people thought this could be a scam, but it wasn't. Then answering to your question, I say it's harder, but that would be in every country, not just Canada, because you're starting from the scratch. So I don't know if I answered your question. That's our experience. But to run it is doable. To start it is harder.
And personally, how have you found your move to Canada?
I was there a month, but then I was going 1 week, come back 1 week, going back 1 week, and I traveled a lot last year to Canada, but actually I don't live there. I travel often.
Okay. Got that.
Yeah, one thing just in terms of advice for entrepreneurs, I know that there are a number of considerations when you're moving to a country. And what's unique about Canada is that we have, over the last decade in particular, there's increased national connectivity between all the different regions and all the different provinces. And so wherever you are in terms of wherever you're thinking about establishing yourself, I'd say the primary consideration should be, where do you have the starting points of a network? And whether it's in Alberta and Vancouver and Montreal and St. John's, Newfoundland and Kitchener, Waterloo, wherever it is, if having that network will provide you with social support, and it's essentially the starting point of expanding your network in Canada. So I'd say that would be my primary consideration, given what I know about Canada, and less so, whether it's Toronto's financial, the fact that Toronto's a financial center and quite often the most well-known city. That would be. I'm based in Toronto. I love Toronto, but we are a truly nationally connected country, and you can build a world-class company anywhere in the country. And St. John's, Newfoundland, which is a very small population relative to Toronto, we've just seen the emergence of a success story by the name of Verifin, which was founded by local angel investors in St. John's. There was capital from Toronto that contributed to their venture capital, their emergence in terms of a venture capital success story. They're worth something in the range of about $1 billion, and they're in the cybercrime space. So you can build, and then of course, I'd mentioned during my remarks, Shopify in Ottawa, Solium in Alberta, and so you can build a world-class company anywhere in the country. And my advice would be focus on where you have a network, because that will be a very strong starting point for you at both levels of business and social.
Excellent, thanks. That was a great wrap up, Claudio. So we are running out of time. We're a little over time here, y quiero respetar las agendas de todos. There's a couple questions we didn't answer. There was one specifically on opportunities and attraction programs for the mining supply companies. And that is something that ProChile actually has run some initiatives on in Canada. And that certainly we here at the Embassy of Canada in Chile can provide additional answers. So please, we will follow up with those after. I'm sorry we ran out of time. I want to just, for my part, thank ProChile for the leadership of this initiative, for taking it on. For helping us to spread the gospel of Canada, the good news. And we really do hope that you as the participants, as Chilean entrepreneurs, will think long and hard about using Canada as your gateway, not just to Canada, but to all of North America. So thank you to ProChile, thank you to our panelists, to Deloitte, to Toronto Global, to Montreal International, to my colleague Mark from Mojo, to Javier from Corner Shop, and Claudio from NACO. Thank you to all. And with that, I will say my goodbyes and hand it over to my colleague Fernando Acuña. Fernando.
Many thanks, Mark. Thank you for that. I'll just finish up in Spanish. Muchas gracias, Mark, por todo esto, por la colaboración. Solo quiero pasar antes un aviso para quienes estén interesados en el evento de Montreal Connect, que ProChile tiene todavía abierto la convocatoria para las empresas que estén interesadas en un evento de networking para empresas de tecnología de Montreal. Para cerrar, solo quiero agradecerles a todos por habernos acompañado, por haber estado en este evento. Agradezco enormemente la participación del director Jorge Ryan, director general de ProChile, a los panelistas también que gentilmente donaron su tiempo para ilustrarnos sobre las oportunidades que existen en Canadá para las empresas de tecnologías innovadoras, a los dos Marks, Richardson y Bonell, nuestros moderadores, pero excelente conducción, muchas gracias, y un agradecimiento también muy especial en particular a la Embajada de Canadá en Chile y a la Cámara de Comercio Chileno-Canadiense por toda la colaboración y el apoyo. Realmente, muchas gracias. Y será hasta la próxima, hasta el próximo evento. Muchas gracias. Adiós.